YouTube? It's your girl Naya, and God is sending me back with another word for y'all and for myself, because y'all, these last couple of days have been a little tough, but I'm gonna get into that later in the video. I asked that y'all stop the video, pray, ask God if this is a video that you need to be watching. You should know your season. If you don't know your season, go to God and seek clarification and revelation on what season you are in. But you should receive nothing but confirmation throughout this entire video. So if God has not been speaking to you about these things, it's probably not a video for you in this season. It may be a video for you later in the next season, or whatever the case may be. But just make sure that you are consistently seeking God for what season you are in, so that you don't get confused. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the video. So the name of this video in particular is going to be called "With You Is Where I Want to Be. I'm Missing Home." So God kept giving me this song, "With You Is Where I Want to Be" by Donell Jones. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the song lyrics so that I can go through the lyrics with y'all. I got so many tabs open, it's ridiculous. Okay, finally, I have to go to Google to get the lyrics. So I have the lyrics, but first off, God wanted me to read something specific because he gave me this song before. I want to say back in October or November, if I'm not mistaken, and I did it as a community post. So back then he gave me the song, he had me do it as a community post. I'm going to read to y'all the song lyrics first, because that just makes sense. Okay, so "Where You Are" part 2 is "Where I Want to Be." So the song starts off by saying I'm sorry for leaving you, but I wanted to start my life brand new. I was going through changes and could not see that with you is where I want to be. Nothing compares to you, and I hurt from the pain that I put you through. Baby, I need you desperately, 'cause I gotta be where you are, anywhere you are. It don't matter how far, where you are, anywhere you are. And he keeps repeating the same thing. I'm just going to read to y'all the lyrics, and then I'm going to break everything down. And then he says, being apart got the best of me. And I know that in life, there's no guarantees. Please say that you still got love for me, 'cause I'm missing home. Oh my God. So this is one of the parts that kept replaying in my head. Please say that you still got love for me. No, this little part right here, being apart got the best of me, 'cause in life, there's no guarantees. Please say that you still got love for me, 'cause I'm missing home. And then he says, I'm never going to leave. And I say it because you're all I need. For better or worse, till the end of time, I gotta be where you are, anywhere you are, it don't matter how far. He repeats that again. And then I'm gonna just skip down. This is the part that literally, this is the part I'm about to read kept replaying in my mind this morning and last night. And then what's crazy is because I was like, God, okay, I'm gonna do this video. And then out of nowhere last night, my sister started singing songs. So I'm like, okay, God, okay, like, you ain't gotta tell me no more. I'm gonna do the video. So he says, I'm sorry for all the things I put you through. Baby, you are my world. I can't live my life without you. Oh my God, that kind of reminded me of the video that I had did, well, that God led me to do. I think it was, I Know You're Worth It, I Can't Walk Away, or something like that. And the song he gave me was Die For You. But that's another video. So he says, can I come back home where I belong? 'Cause I'm so alone. Baby girl, I'm on my knees, begging, please. 'Cause with you is where I want to be. Where you are, anywhere you are. And then he says, it don't matter how far. He keeps repeating himself. And then he says, at the end, the last line, I just want to be where you are, baby. So, can I come back home where I belong? 'Cause I'm so alone. Baby girl, I'm on my knees, begging, please. 'Cause with you is where I want to be. That part kept replaying in my mind over and over and over and over and over. I'm so sick of hearing this song, y'all, because it keeps replaying in my head non-stop. Like, it's literally just taking over my brain at this point. Like, it's just replaying in my head over and over and over and over. So I'm like, okay. So then I'm like, I feel like God gave me this word before. So I went back to my community post on YouTube. And so I'm like, okay, because God gave me a revelation to this. So the revelation that Holy Spirit gave me, and this was, it doesn't even tell me the date, but this was 3 months ago. So God has been leading me to a lot of the words that he had me released like at the end of last year. So I'm gonna just read this for y'all, like to break it down and summarize what God is trying to tell us through this song. So Holy Spirit led me to put on my community post that confessions, apologies, and vulnerability is coming. And this is a very specific word. So God was saying your partner is missing home. If you've been, some of y'all probably can feel y'all kingdom spouses or your husbands or your wife energy, like their spirit. So y'all know a kingdom spouse is totally different from being in a relationship with another guy or another girl. It's different because God literally created, custom made you all for each other. So y'all can feel each other's energy. Y'all can feel each other's, I don't know. It's just so weird. Like, I know that I can feel my kingdom spouse's energy. Like, I know, like, when he's missing me or he thinking of me, God gonna always let me know. You know what I mean? Or either through dreams. Like, God speaks to us in different ways. So whatever it is for you, then you know. But God was saying through this, your partner is missing home. They know how much you mean to them. And it's no longer a want, but it feels like they need you in order for their life to be complete in a sense. Now, we all know that we're not complete, that no one really like can't complete us but God. But at the same time, God is giving you a spouse that can fulfill a certain void that no other physical person can fill but this person that God has created for you. So God was also saying the separation needed to happen in order for them to come to their realization. So y'all know when you don't speak, I think they say distance. I think it's distance makes the heart grow fonder. So in order for God to get your spouse where they needed to be when it comes to you, the separation had to happen. Like, it was things that God needed to do within your spouse and within you as well that had to happen during separation. Like, God couldn't do the things that he needed to do within us and within them if we were together, because he wouldn't have been able to do what he needed to do. I can't explain that because I'm not God. God gives me revelation in part. So y'all got to take that back to God and see what it is that, you know, why separation had to happen for y'all. But for me, God gave me some specific things that he needed to work within my spouse and within myself as well that we couldn't have did while we were together. Like when it comes to self-control, discipline, celibacy, none of that probably would have happened if I was with my spouse the whole entire time. Not even gonna hold y'all, but like, self-control was one of the biggest things that I learned. My celibacy journey taught me so much about discipline. And even when I told y'all, I'm going to talk about this later in the video, but when it comes to the whole consummation thing and God allowing some people, I'm not talking about for all, but for me specifically and probably some others out there, God probably did give y'all the revelation that you will be able to live with your kingdom spouse before getting married. Not standing charged to have sex, not standing charged to sleep in the same bed, not standing charged to be partaking in sexual things outside of marriage. If God is allowing you and have given you the revelation that you'll be able to live with your kingdom spouse in 2 separate rooms and 2 separate beds, okay? Let's just make that very clear. This is not a green light for y'all to just go and do what y'all want and to submit to y'all fleshly desires after everything that God has taught you in the previous seasons. But if God has given you the revelation that you and your kingdom spouse, that you and your husband or you and your wife will be able to stay together and live together before marriage, or even when it comes to living together, that means that God is literally about to have y'all come into, to come into union. If God is giving you that revelation, then God trusts you and knows that you have enough self-control to live with your kingdom spouse and to submit to God's will over y'all life and to also obey God's instructions to not partake in anything sexual, to not be doing things that is outside of God's divine order until it's time. So when God tells you that it's time to consummate with your kingdom spouse, or you know what I'm saying, to live with your kingdom spouse, whatever the case may be, then you will know, because God will give you clear, precise instructions and he will be speaking to the both of y'all. I keep going everywhere else. Sorry, y'all. Okay. God was saying it literally couldn't have happened any other way when it comes to y'all separation. However y'all separation happened, whether it was they moved away, whether it was just radio silence, whether they just ghosted you, whether they blocked you, whatever the case may have been, everybody's situation is different. They needed to feel what it's like to be apart from you in order to see how much they truly love and needed you in their lives. So I know some of our spouses are probably very stubborn, very, especially our husbands. They are very prideful. They had to work a lot of that ego. God had to pull a lot of that ego out of them because they are like, it's my way or the highway type of men, alpha males. So God had to really work on their stubbornness, work on their pride, to leave their ego at the front door. Okay? At the front door. Not at the back door, but the front door. Not at the side door, but the front door. Because, no, we can't take all that pride and ego into the next season with us, with these unions coming together. And a lot of these relationships, God has taught us that we're going to have to you got to make sacrifices, basically. God is teaching us that we have to make sacrifices. Like, when it comes to time, God is teaching his daughters to make sure we cover our husbands, to make sure we pray over our husbands, to make sure we pray over our families, to make sure we cover our unions. Like, that's continuous sacrifice when it comes to these kingdom unions, because without sacrifice, you're not showing God that this is really important to you. Like, even God calling you into ministry, how much are you willing to sacrifice for God's purpose in your life? How much are you willing to sacrifice on behalf of God? How much is it really important to you? Like, how important is God's purpose? How much is God's purpose important to you? Because ideally, these unions are for God's purpose. He's using them how he sees fit. He's orchestrating and strategizing this whole entire thing. So it's not for us to say, oh, I don't want to do this, or why do you want me to do this, God, and why do I have to do this? Because if God said that this isn't his divine purpose, then we shouldn't be asking no questions. It should be, okay, God, I'll do it. Okay, God, I'll do it. Even when it don't make sense. Because it's a lot of things where I'm like, God, this don't make no sense at all, but I guess I'm gonna do it. Like, even when it came to me leaving work, even when it came to me starting a business, even when it came to me starting a ministry, I was like, this is out my comfort zone, God, but I'm gonna do it. And it took me a minute to get there, but through consistency in every single step of obedience, it will get easier and easier and easier. I got another word for that at the end of the video, but let me just keep going, okay? Your spouse wants to come back home to you first of all, your spouse wants to come home to God for one, returning back to Christ to submit to God's will and God's plans over their lives. And also that includes you, because you are included in their purpose. You are included in God's will for their life. So your spouse wants to come back home to you. If you've been seeing 344, that is a sign of confirmation that your spouse wants to return and is and will be returning back to you and to Christ first and foremost. They want to know if you'll be ready to accept them despite their actions in the past. Okay, guys, so I have some confirmations that I'll include in this video throughout, but if you've been seeing 344, that is a sign that your spouse will be returning back to you. Like, don't just think, like I told y'all before, don't just think that God will put you through all of this, through the separation, through the consecration, through the purification, refinement, just to leave you hanging in the end. He's not going to do that for you. His promises never fail. He's a man of his word, and his word never returns back void to him. And honestly, guys, you got to believe it. Even when it looks like it's delusional, even when people call you delusional, you got to believe it. You got to believe his word over your life. And you got to be willing to accept your spouse back despite their actions in the past. God has been telling me about forgiveness, and he's been having me speak on it through every single video that I've been creating through the last couple of months. So somebody needs to really, and this is me even ministering to myself, like, we're going into a new season. God is doing something new. God is doing something brand new. And we have to leave. We have to be willing to leave the past in the past, even when it comes to our kingdom spouses, even when it comes to the whole separation. Because a lot of y'all are probably wondering, like, why would they do this? Like, if they really loved me, why would they leave? Why would they ghost me? Why would they block me? This, and that. But we got to realize that this whole thing is being orchestrated by God. The devil can't even use our spouses unless God gives them permission, because they need to learn things, and we also need to learn things, because in the past we made our own mistakes as well as our spouses. So we have to be willing to let things go. We have to be willing to move forward so that we can not delay our blessings or delay what God is trying to do over our lives and over our unions and everything else that God has for us. Okay, so God also mentioned that he has shown them that their actions in the past was unacceptable. God has been dealing with their heart and training them up to properly lead as a man of God and to treat you the correct way this time around. They wish they could go back in time to do things correctly. They felt the condemnation. They felt shameful towards themselves even. So we have to realize that as much as we want to be like, why did you do this? When they come back, why did you do this? What made you do this? How do you think that made me feel? Yes, God wants us to be vulnerable with our kingdom spouses and to be open and transparent about how we feel, but it's a way that you go about it. Don't go about it in a way that you're trying to hold them accountable for their actions, but also allow Holy Spirit to give you gentleness, the spirit of gentleness, and also the spirit of compassion when you're talking to them, because God has already shown them the consequences of their actions. So it's not for us to discipline them. God has disciplined his sons, okay? He has disciplined his sons because they are his sons. They're not our sons. We are not their mothers, okay? We are not their mothers. We won't be their mothers. We will be called to be their wives, okay? We are called to be their wives, not their mothers. We are not called to discipline them. We are to go to God and ask them to show them, the right way to order their steps, to lead them to be mighty men of God so they can submit to God and so that we can submit to our husbands. Because if our husbands are not submitting to Christ, we cannot follow our husbands. That's why God had to get our husbands where they need to be mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, because if they're not submitted to God's will, we cannot be submissive to our husbands. I'm not following anybody that's leading me blind. You know what I'm saying? God showed me the movie Bird Box this morning when I woke up. I'm going to get into the confirmations, but if your spouse is not submitted to God's will and not in alignment and not seeking God day to day and, building that relationship with God, you can't lead anybody that's leading you blind. Like, that's basically like them doing like this and you leading right behind them. Like, they got to be able to seek God. They got to be able to have the eyes to perceive the things that God needs them to see things in the spirit so that y'all can be warned and so y'all can know what's coming next or something. Like, you know what I mean? And God has given them spiritual gifts, and also God has given you spiritual gifts. So y'all come together and use those gifts, but don't be out here just letting people lead you blind, letting your husband lead you blind. That's why it's important that God does this in his own time and we don't try to do things in our own time. Because when we do things in our own time, it's not going to be how God intends for it to be. And things are not going to be in order. And God has a divine order in how he does things. God also mentioned that's why it's important for us to embody the love of God towards our husbands when they come back. Or if you're a guy, your wife. To consistently pray for them. Love on them. Show them how God has transformed us as well. Be an example. God wants you to know to be an example of God's love and grace for us. And don't let them beat themselves up. Because y'all know when your spouse comes back, they're going to be feeling bad already. They're going to be feeling bad about their actions. They're going to be feeling bad that they left you hanging in the dark with radio silence, however the case may have been for y'all. Don't let them beat themselves up. I'm going to go back to my notes really quickly. So another thing that stuck out to me is that when God gave me the song With You Is Where I Want to Be, part 2. Okay, guys, I just got a quick revelation. Like a quick revelation. So it's so funny because I was not about to add this into the video. But when God gave me the song With You Is Where I Want to Be, part 2, it just automatically made me think of part 1. So y'all know, I don't know how many separations y'all have had specifically, but God led me to go back to the original song, which is Where I Want to Be by Donnell Jones. So in the beginning of the song, he says, I just left my baby girl a message saying I won't be coming home. I'd rather be alone. She doesn't fully understand me because I'd rather leave than to cheat. If she gives me some time, I can be the man she needs. But there's a lot of lust inside of me. And we've been together since our teenage years. Oh my God. I really don't mean to hurt her, but I need some time to be alone. And he says, but when you love someone, you just don't treat them bad. Oh, how I feel so sad now that I want to leave. She's crying her heart to me. How could you let this be? I just need time to see where I want to be. So, oh my God, this is hitting home for me. Like, this is hitting home for me, y'all. So, part one, basically the original song, he talks about basically like, he's going through a lot of things of his own that she just does not understand, and she won't understand it until he actually like understands it for himself. Like, he's going through his own transformation, he's going through his own spirit, his own journey himself, and she doesn't understand it. So he wants to just take time to be by himself so that he can become the man he needs for her. That is a revelation in itself. Like, God just gave me a whole revelation of these separations. Like, if you don't understand what happened or why this had to happen, this is a complete representation of a lot of our journeys. So our husbands left. A lot of our husbands left. A lot of our kingdom spouses were prodigals. A lot of them had to go through their own transformations, and God had to bring them back. A lot of them were prodigals to God first and foremost. God had to bring a lot of them back. Oh my gosh, y'all. Oh my gosh. God had to bring a lot of his sons back into order so that they can be the men of God that he has called them to be first and foremost. They can't be the husband that you need them to be unless they be the person and the man that God has called them to be. They have to first and foremost be the men that God has called them to be so they can be the husband that God has called them to be. Just like God had to refine us and purify us as women, we have to be the women that God has called us to be first before we can be the wives that our husbands need. So this is literally just so much confirmation. Him saying, I'd rather be alone. She doesn't fully understand me because I'd rather leave than to cheat. A lot of our spouses, we probably didn't have issues with infidelity. Some of y'all probably did, but some of us probably didn't. I didn't have any issues with infidelity or anything like that. It was more so like my spouse just up and left. Like, and it wasn't like it was no bad blood or anything like that, but it was just like radio silence, like complete ghosting, like, you know what I mean? And I was thinking in my head, like, really, God, like, why, like, couldn't he have not done this a better way? I would have understood. I would have just been like, okay, take your time, take all the time you need. Like, I was just like, I probably wouldn't even like, I would have definitely cared, but I wouldn't have held it against him because I know that he's becoming a better person. And God was like, come to me and I can let you know what's going on. I can give you insight and revelation on why things are like they are, what I need to do through my son. This is my son first and foremost. So I can do what I see fit. Maybe that wasn't the perfect or ideal situation that you would have wanted, but, and he also says, if she gives me some time, I can be the man she needs. But there's a lot of lust inside of me. A lot of our spouses, a lot of our husbands dealt with the spirit of lust, the spirit of temptation, the spirit of maybe Jezebel spirit. A lot of our husbands dealt with the Jezebel spirit and lust, and just a lot of them probably dealt with a lot of that stuff, like lacking self-control, lacking just a lot of different things. And y'all know it's so easy for men to normalize that in this society, and even women normalize it for men. Like, a lot of women are just so comfortable with their men still doing that in marriage, and that is not anything that should be accepted, especially in the Christian community. I feel like we normalize too many things. Like, God has a divine order in how he does things, and like I said, a lot of our spouses dealt with the spirit of lust, and a lot of them knew that, which is why God had to pull them away in isolation so that they could be consecrated by God, so they can become a new being in Christ, so that God could create them into the men, or not even really create them, because they've always been the men of God, but they just got lost in the sauce. God knew who they were going to be when he created them. So I'm not even going to say that they had to be created into the men that God had called them to be, but God had to strip back some things. He had to peel away some layers, those past experiences, people they've dealt with, people, things that they may have seen. God had to strip them of all that, old beliefs, old, maybe some of them maybe came from a different religion or grew up in a different religion. God had to strip them, just like he had to strip us. Like I told y'all before, like I've always grew up Baptist, I've always grew up Christian, but like I literally, when I got into my teenage years, I started watching those little tarot card videos and stuff. Like, we all have past experiences, and God has to God will, look, we all been prodigals before. God has to, it has to be in God's own timing where he'll bring you back and he'll consecrate you and he'll refine you. When God knows that you had enough, you'll know when you had enough as well. Because one day I was just like, okay, God, I can't do this no more. Like, I can't go through all these inconsistent things, all these inconsistent relationships, all these relationships that I've been through. None of them ended well. None of them were of you, God. You were not in any of the relationships that I've ever been in. So, like, I'm done. Like, I want something real. I want something that has God in it, first and foremost. I want something created by God. So, yes, y'all. So, if y'all want to go listen to this song, go listen to this song. I really, really do think that y'all should go listen to this song because it gives you a lot of insight and clarity on your spouse, your husband, as well. Even when it comes to just God needed him to be in isolation. Like, that's the only way that he can really speak to you and reveal things to you, when you are by yourself and it's just you and him alone. That is when God is going to reveal to you the most. He's going to reveal himself to you more and more and more. The more time that you give to God to sit in his presence, to get to know him, to get to seek his truth, to ask him to reveal his truth to you, to get to know his loving goodness and grace. Like, you have to put in the time. It does not come overnight. So I really love that God just gave me that song, because I was not tripping off the first version, but literally part 2 was the song that he gave me of your spouse returning, and then the original song was him leaving. So that's just wild. That's wild. Oh Lord, that was Holy Spirit. Okay, so also I'm gonna go through the confirmations. It's gonna be a long video, so y'all might as well just sit comfortable, because it's gonna be some confirmations. So the first confirmation that God led me to speak about is the fact that in the title it says, "With you is where I want to be. I'm missing home." Like, for one, this can be perceived in 2 different ways. So I'm missing home. Home is where you are. Like, your spouse's home. God has created you for this individual. Like, you're their home, you're their safe place, you're their other half. Literally, you're a part of them. If you're a wife, you are your husband's rib. And your wife, if this is a man watching, your wife is a part of you. Like, she's made from your rib. And so another way that you could be perceiving "I'm missing home" is that, like, a lot of God's children, he has been given revelation that you will be moving soon. So I don't know who that is for, but "I'm missing home" is your spouse saying, like, this is the last thing that we need to do is to, and this is very specific, because everybody will not be moving and everybody will not be living with their kingdom spouse, before marriage. But he says, "I'm missing home." So this will be the last thing that God does when he brings you into union. So during this time, if God is giving you his revelation, there will be consummation. Everybody won't get a wedding right off bat. And I kind of explained that. Someone asked me in a comment, like, well, does this mean that God has told some women that they will be having sex with their kingdom spouse before marriage? No, that is not what God is saying. But God is saying also that he has instructed some of his children, when they come into union, they will have the chance to get to know each other more. So a lot of y'all probably even met y'all kingdom spouses. Y'all never dated or anything. Y'all hadn't been in a relationship. It's still a lot to each other that y'all need to learn about each other. So God is giving y'all this time to just be you and this person. Nobody else. No other influences, parents, anything else blocking what God is trying to do when it comes to y'all getting to know each other more and more and more, deeper than the surface. Okay. So God is giving y'all this time to get to know each other better, get to find out more new things about each other that y'all never knew, even if y'all had been in a relationship. But God is allowing some of his children to have this time to just be with you, your spouse, and God, to just get to know each other on a new level, get to restart, and start a new beginning with each other, a new chapter. Okay. So that's another way that you could be perceiving "I'm missing home." So that is, and for a lot of us, because look, I got a whole little spill when it comes about my own living situation, because my living situation is about to change drastically within these next 8 weeks or 2 months. I'm gonna tell you about that later in the video, but God gave me the confirmation 933, which means in strong concordance a palace. And actually I feel like this means a royal palace. So this means a palace. Yeah. So it means a palace. So in other words, a royal living space, something that's deemed as high standard, something that is deemed as high value, or however you want to put it, but it means a palace. If you've been seeing that, that is a sign of confirmation for you. If you've been seeing 1055, that is a sign of confirmation of a house. It means house in a palace, so that's kind of like 2 and 1. It means the same thing, of course. So that's another sign of confirmation for you. If you've been seeing 911, that means okay, first of all, I want to go back to palace and also 933 and 1055. So like I said, everybody won't be moving, but if God has instructed you, so like I said, God, everybody won't be moving, but also if God has instructed you to get your house in order for your spouse when they come, that's what you need to be doing. This could be also God telling you or reminding you that you need to be making sure your house is clean, making sure you have food, make sure you have what is it called, maybe even getting new sets of tiles, new comforters, whatever the case may be. Setting your house up to be in order for when your spouse arrives or returns. Okay, so next we have 911, which is a sense of urgency. I have taken this number back to God so many times. Like when he kept giving me 911, I kept thinking like automatically like of course urgency, ambulance, sirens, police sirens, like a sense of urgency. That's something that needs to be fulfilled very, very quickly and very swiftly. So God is reminding us that what's about to take place is going to take place very suddenly, very swiftly, very unexpectedly, because there's things that needs to be done. There's things that has to be taking place by a certain appointed time. So it's not and I'm not saying that this couldn't be like, you know what I'm saying? It's different for everybody. God has a divine timing for every single body. Everybody's journey is different, but there's a sense of urgency that God has put out. Things that need to be done in a certain specific time. And God's just reminding us that it won't be long. And it won't be long. Like God keeps saying that over and over. It won't be long. So if you've been seeing that number 911, that is a confirmation. Now, this is a very weird, I'm not going to say weird confirmation, but it's a confirmation that I didn't, like, God is just so cool how he speaks to us, because God had been giving me the confirmation of white Mercedes trucks. Well, white Mercedes cars, like trucks and cars in itself. So God has been, okay? He has really been showing me white Mercedes cars and trucks non-stop. When I'm telling y'all, like, I can be driving, look in my rear view mirror, and I see a Mercedes truck or car behind me. And God specifically told me, he confirmed this through another prophetic voice that he speaks to me sometimes through, and her name is Keys to the Kingdom. I believe her name is Brittany. I hope that's her name, because I hate pronouncing people's name wrong or getting their names wrong. But her YouTube name is Keys to the Kingdom. So she mentioned white Mercedes and ladybugs in her video, and it's so crazy because when I watched that video, I literally had a ladybug fly on me. Literally had a ladybug fly on me. And I was like, oh my God, like God be speaking, like he really be speaking. He uses other people sometimes, so you got to be really listening and taking heed to what's going on around you, and also taking every word back to God, because I'm telling y'all, God can literally give you a word and then it happens, or either he'll do the reverse where he'll give you the confirmation, then he'll send a prophet to reconfirm that confirmation, that sign and wonder that he gave you. So it's just so crazy. So I'm gonna just explain what white Mercedes mean. So white Mercedes, God gave me the revelation that it means purity, and also keeping God in the center of your marriage. So if God has called you and gave you the revelation that you will be staying with your kingdom spouse as y'all come into union with each other, getting to know each other better, and a whole new beginning and a whole new chapter. God needs you to remember to keep your purity. The things that God has taught you when it comes to your celibacy, when it comes to self-control and discipline, you need to be mindful of that, because God would not put you in a situation to where he knows that you're going to lose sight of his will and his purpose. If that was the case, God would have never gave you the revelation. So he knows that you're going to be strong enough to uphold the discipline, the amount of discipline that he's taught you in the last previous seasons and in this season. So remember to keep the purity, to keep the lessons that God has taught you, because he trusts you. And he trusts you. He's trusting you with much. A lot of people cannot stay with their kingdom spouses under the same roof without partaking in sexual things. So remember to keep your purity and to keep God in the center. Y'all know in the Mercedes symbol is like and this is not anything demonic, okay? Because God created shapes. He created everything on the earth, okay? He created numbers and everything. This is not numerology. This is not angel numbers. This is not anything demonic that's going on, okay? But y'all know the Mercedes symbol is like a triangle. So God at the top, you and your kingdom spouse, like literally right there. So remember to keep God at the center of the marriage, okay? And remember to keep your purity when it comes to living under the same roof as your kingdom spouse, okay? And remember to use this time to get to know your kingdom spouse, your husband, your wife on a deeper level. Use this time. Please use this time. Like, really value this time that God is giving y'all together before y'all bring kids into this world. Please. Because I told God so many times, I said, God, when I get married, I really do want to be selfish with my husband for a little bit. And I'm not even saying that because, like, you know, I do want kids when the time is right. But I also want to cherish the time with my husband before we bring kids into the world. Like, I want to be able to be selfish with my husband for a little bit, okay? And nothing wrong with that. But also, y'all just remember to keep God first and foremost in y'all marriage. Remember to go to him, pray together, learn to speak scriptures over each other. Like, really do take this time and value the time that God has given y'all. So next, God gave me the movie Bird Box. So this came to me this morning. God had already told me that I was going to do this video today, but he also gave me it was like a vision. It wasn't more so like he told me, it was more so a vision, and I just thought about Bird Box. So it was a lady with her, she had a blindfold on, and I don't know if y'all ever seen the movie Bird Box, but basically they couldn't take that blindfold off or either they'll die. They couldn't figure out like what it was that was keeping them, that was making them die. Like, they couldn't figure it out, and they really didn't even explain it, I think, at the end of the movie what exactly it was. But it was just like, if they looked like outside with their eyes, they were gonna get like possessed and then they died. It was just so crazy. And I think a lot of them were like committing suicide and stuff. They were hurting themselves and stuff like that. If y'all never watched that movie, I suggest you take that back to God, because I mean, that's not for everybody. And God does tell you what music you can listen to and what, you know, God will convict your heart on what it is that you can and cannot do. So everybody is different. And so, yeah. So when God gave me the movie Bird Box, he reminded me that if you've been seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, that is God telling you that I am directing your steps and I am directing your path. Like, you are where you need to be, and I have placed you in a specific place on purpose, because I know where I am taking you. Even if you don't understand it, even if you don't know where you're going next, know that I'm the one guiding your footsteps. So the movie Bird Box made me think, like, basically when you have faith in God, that's literally what we're doing. We're literally walking behind God blindfolded every single day. We don't know what's about to happen. Sometimes we do. Sometimes God does give us revelations, but more of the time, like, what's about to happen with my living situation, I'm just like, God, okay, look, I'm trusting you. I have full faith that you're going to work this thing out. I have full faith. I speak by faith that you are a way maker, God. You said that you're a way maker. You said that you will never leave us. You said that you will never forsake us, God. So I'm just trusting you, and I'm just, by faith, I believe that God will work a way. Where there's a will, there is a way. So God is like reminding us that trust him. Follow him, allow him to direct your path, allow him to just trust. That's all it takes, is trust. And that's why God gave me the vision of the lady with the blindfold on. Because even when we don't know, we have to trust that God has our best intentions at heart. God would not lead us somewhere where we're going to just be by ourselves or be alone. He will never do that. So God says that he's our father, and a father takes care of his children. A father provides for his children. A father leads his children. That's why God calls us to be submissive to our wives, because when you become a parent, your husband is the father, you are the mother, you are the nurturer, you are the caretaker. The father is the provider, he's the leader, he's the head of the household. That is what God is to us. So God is just reminding us that, like, I'm your father. I would never leave you. I'm your leader. I'm your provider. I'm the head of your life, of your marriage. Okay? So also, God wanted me to mention, I was not going to mention this in the video, but God also reminded me, basically with my house situation, just a full disclosure, not even disclosure, a full just transparent moment. So basically a few days ago, I haven't been really responding back to comments on my video because it's just been a lot going on mentally, and that's why God had to remind me of the bird box scene. But basically 2 days ago, my mom texted me, and my living situation has been just up and down for like the past year. My parents basically went or are going through a divorce right now. So it's just been a lot mentally, emotionally, and just spiritually draining. Like, now I'm in a place where, like, I'm good. Like, I'm good now. I've been doing my therapy. I've been talking to God. I've been getting revelations and insight about all the things that God needs me to do. He's been giving me instructions. I've been being obedient. I've been, doing what I need to do. But like my living situation, I've been just praying, like, God, when am I finally going to move out of this house? Like, I've been trying to move so many times, y'all. I've tried to move out so many times, but God is like, no, like, I need you to stay put. I need you to stay still. I need you to stay where you are at. And it's so wild because, like I said, full transparent moment. Me and my kingdom spouse literally live probably like 5 minutes away from each other. And I tried to move out of town. I tried to move to a different county and everything. Guys, like, no, stay put, stay where you are at. I have not gave you the green light to move, so you need to stay where you at. And so I'm like, God, why? Like, y'all, when I tell y'all, it's just been so much with my own mom, parents. It's just like, especially, when God is like leading you in a certain way, and your family going in the opposite direction. They of the world. God called you out of the world. He called you to not submit to the patterns of the world and the people around you doing every other thing that God has told you not to do. So it just been like, God, like, I'm about to go crazy in this house. And this is where I learned the most discipline and self-control in this house. And I can truly say that more than likely, if I hadn't been in this house, I probably want to learn a lot of the things. Like, so when it comes to just showing people grace and just forgiving and just letting go of the past and just, okay, guys. So yeah, like I said, it's just been a lot in my household anyways. And I just been really trying to move, but God is like, stay still, stay put. My mom texted me. She was like, the lady who owns the house is selling the house literally in 2 months. We got to be out the house by May 31st. So I was just like, okay, God, like, where am I about to live? Because I have an aunt that lives here. I have my grandma's about to move here, but like, I don't know when, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be uncomfortable, and this is something I've been praying about so long, but God is like, I will make a way. And I'm just like, God, because God has told me, he gave me revelation on, me getting my own place. So I was just kind of like, I don't know where, like, he keeps telling me, like, I will have my own place, but I'm like, hey, okay, God, I don't know where I'm moving. He hasn't really confirmed to me, like, where it is that he wants me to move. He's told me, like, where he wants me to move. So, and then the place is very, very expensive where he's told me to move. So I'm just like, okay, but for right now, where am I, like, in 2 more months, 8 more weeks, where am I about to move? Like, what is about to happen? What's about to go on? Like, I need to make plans. I gotta start packing my room up. I gotta start packing my clothes up. Like, I got so much to do now. And then the business, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got that stuff. I'm just like, God, I'm gonna need you to answer me, like, what's going on? And so God is like, God had also gave me some revelations, when I told you about the consummation thing, and also the whole living with your kingdom spouse as y'all come into union thing. So God had also told me, like, he gave me revelation on that. I'm not even gonna go into that, but it's just like, God, I got 8 weeks. 8 weeks, and I know anything can happen at any given moment. So I'm just like, okay, God, I trust you. I know that you're gonna make a way. I know that you won't just leave me stranded. I know that you won't just leave me without a place to stay or to be living from house to house to house. So God had took me back to get ready to move. So if God has been speaking to you about moving and you've been seeing U-Haul trucks, that is a sign of confirmation as well. Literally, y'all, like 2 days ago, I had seen 3 U-Haul trucks parked next to each other at the gas station. It was a U-Haul truck, and another U-Haul truck, all parked like in a line or something like that. Well, it wasn't a line, but that was just all parked next to each other. And I've been seeing U-Haul trucks so much. And God had told me this 12/13/2022. And he gave me the number 344. I wrote it down right here, to turn back. I made this video December the 13th, and it says, get ready to move, a new thing. So I'm just really praying and just having faith that God is gonna work this whole entire thing out. I'm not even gonna stress myself, because I feel myself low-key stressing about it, and I don't need to stress about anything that God has told me and has already given me revelation on months back. So I know that God would not just leave me astray like that, and I know he wouldn't tell me something. Y'all, it's just a day-by-day faith walk. Like, I'm not perfect, and I do fall short. Sometimes, I be questioning, trying to understand, but God is like, everything that I'm doing in your life, you're not going to understand. And that's why it's important for us to not have expectations when it comes to God's plan over our lives, because sometimes we tend to have our own agendas. We tend to have our own agendas when it comes to what God is doing in our lives. And then when God tells us to do something different, we think it's wrong because we already had plans and we already had a certain agenda and how we wanted things to look. Like, even when it comes to my own marriage, I had planned, like, God had told me, like, I'm gonna get my dream wedding, but everybody will not get a wedding right off bat. Reason being is because God has a divine purpose and things that need to be done for his kingdom. And sometimes you do have to make sacrifices when it comes to God's will and God's way. And God has been speaking to me a lot about that, because I had a certain mind frame when it came to how I wanted this marriage and everything to work out and plan out. Like, even when it comes to marriage, even when it comes to us living together, even when it comes to the union, how I wanted everything to look. Like, I had it all pictured in my head of how I wanted things to look. And God is like, no, I'm the one orchestrating this. I'm the one strategizing this whole thing. I'm the one who creating the whole thing. So I get to say, God is like, I get to say how I want this to look, when I want this to happen, and everything. So I'm gonna just let God do his thing. Like, I told myself a long time ago, I'm stepping back. Like, God has told me to chill, focus on the ministry, focus on the business that I've given you. Like, literally just follow my instructions. Your instructions are to be obedient and to continue to have faith. That's literally your instructions in this season, to have faith and to just keep being obedient. And I will lead you exactly where I need you to be. So with that being said, y'all, just a full, transparent moment, because I don't really do that too often. But God led me to actually talk about that on my channel, because I know God is moving a lot of his children in this hour. And I just found it so crazy. Like, God gave me this word, get ready to move. He's been showing me the U-Haul trucks. He's been giving me numbers, signs, and confirmations and dreams. And God has given me so many dreams about where I will be staying and, how it's going to look for me and my spouse. And it's just, I feel like a lot of things are coming together. And a lot of, just a few weeks ago, I started to get a little bit, not afraid, but I kind of feel like, oh my God, things are really coming together. And it's kind of scaring me, the enemy tried to make me think, because when you're used to not having something for so long, you get accustomed to that way of thinking and that way of living. You're just so used to it. I want to tell y'all, when y'all spouse comes back, you got to be ready. And that's why God keeps having his children say this to y'all and just repeating it over and over, because when you're so used to not having your spouse there, you get used to not having your spouse there, if that makes sense. You got to be ready for the change. You got to be ready for the new beginning. You got to be ready for the fresh start. You have to be ready. You can't get accustomed to isolation. You can't get accustomed to the wilderness because God is trying to give you something new. He's trying to give you more. So he needs you to be receiving. He needs you to be open. He needs you to open your heart to his plans and his will. Because ideally, God is the one who's creating this whole entire thing. He's the one that's tying everything together. He's the one that's bringing everything together. So you got to be able to be perceptive and not be so like, no, I'm not doing this, God. Like, nope, I'm not doing this, God. Like, no, I'm not going to be out here looking crazy. Because ideally, we all look crazy at a certain amount of time when we're working for God. When you're working for God's kingdom, you got to be okay with looking crazy to other people. You got to be okay with looking delusional when it comes to when God is calling you to do something for his kingdom. God called me out of work in the middle of me starting a business. Like, what? And then on top of that, I'm about to have to move in like 8 weeks and I don't have a job. I'm about to start a business. And it's just like, God, how did... I'm gonna let God do what he needs to do. Because I was just like, God, how did this even make sense? Like, you called me out of my job. I'm about to start a business. Like, I'm about to launch in like April, mid-April. My birthday is beginning of May 14th. It's just a lot going on. I'm just like, God, I'm just trusting you. Like, I'm just trusting you, Lord. I'm just trusting you. Because ain't no other way but to trust you with this. Ain't no other way. So I'm just trusting. And that's what y'all got to do. Y'all just got to trust God. Like, that's all he wants you to do is trust him and have faith. Literally. Just trust him and have faith. And so also God gave me the phrase, a house divided cannot stand. So God, it's so funny because I was talking to my grandma the other day and she said this, and I forgot what we were talking about, but she just said, a house divided cannot stand. And I think she was telling me, like when it comes to my mom and, you know, just how I treat other people and how I talk to other people. And even when people persecute me, even when people treat me bad, to just show, because a lot of the times when people treat you bad, it's a reflection of how they think of themselves and how they it could have been their past experiences, it could have been how other people treated them, it could have been how they think of themselves. So my grandma was just like, you gotta treat people with love, not charge their actions to their heart, because sometimes people do have ill intentions, and then sometimes people just are not aware, not self-aware, they're not in alignment with God. So God is not, they're not able to perceive what it is that God is trying to do through them. And it's just a lot that goes into it. So my grandma was just like, you know, show your family what love is. Show them what God's love is. Show them what God's grace looks like. Show them what it's like to be chosen by God. And y'all, that is just like, she was just so right, because literally, y'all, my business name is Chosen by God. So my grandma was just like, show them what it's like. Show them how it looks when you're chosen by God. God will use you in ways that you don't see, that you don't even want. Like, God will literally have you doing things. Your flesh is like, no, like, I don't want to do this. Like, why do I have to do this? And why did you have to choose me to do this? So it's all about showing other people what it's like to have Christ in you, so that other people can seek that for themselves. And so she was also saying that when you show other people love and unconditional love, and when you forgive people even when they treat you wrong, and even when you know, just exactly like Christ did. And so she was saying that the enemy will try to use anything that he can to separate a house, and that's why a house divided cannot stand, because you have to be willing to be the sacrifice, even if it's for your family, even if it's for your husband. And this goes for your kingdom marriage as well. A house divided cannot stand. If you thinking like this and he thinking like this, or if your family is thinking like this and you thinking like this, and y'all just like, y'all can't agree on nothing, no, it's not gonna work. And God is about love. He's about unity. He's about oneness. So we have to be willing to be that sacrifice, even if you don't feel like, you know, this person treats me like this. And it's not saying that you have to, what is it called? Because I know sometimes God will call you away from certain people, but if God is having you be around people for a certain reason, it's because he wants you around them to show them what his character is. He wants you to be the vessel to show these people what his character looks like, what his truth and his love looks like, what his grace and his forgiveness looks like. And that's what God has been doing to me. And it's been hard because it's like, God, I'm a person too. Like, I'm human too. I have feelings too. I have emotions too. But you want me to keep being nice, and you want me to pretend like I'm happy with how they're treating me. You want me to pretend like, you know, I'm just this, this person that they can just walk all over. And so God has been speaking to me like, no, they're not going to get away with anything that they were doing to you. Trust and believe that. Like, you're my chosen, you're my child. Don't ever think that anybody can come up against you and they won't have to suffer the consequences for it. So God has been telling me that. And yeah, that phrase, "a house divided cannot stand," we got to be able to represent what unity looks like through Christ. So when we come together, we are an army. We are warriors together. We fight our battles together, not against each other. That's why that scripture, what is it called? We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against, what is that scripture? Oh my God, that just came to my mind. Okay, that's Ephesians 6:12. So we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So that just came to my mind literally, because we're not trying to fight it. We shouldn't be trying to fight against each other. Like, that's how the enemy causes destruction. That's how the enemy causes divorces to happen. That's how the enemy breaks up families and breaks relationships, because he comes and he tries to divide. And that's why we have to remember that God is about unity. He's about oneness. Remember that. Don't let your flesh override the spirit, the Holy Spirit within you. Okay, and so another song that God gave me, I remember last night I was in the shower and I was just talking. I didn't even put on no music. Y'all, when I take showers, I put on music every time. But like last night, I was just like, no, God was like, no music tonight. No music, just talk to me. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk to you, God. Because, I need to get some stuff off my mind. So I'm in the shower and I'm just talking to God. I'm praying. I'm just like, God, I trust you. Like, I don't know where you're taking me. I just feel like, the circumstances that I'm about to be placed in, the circumstances that I'm in now, is just, I don't know if I see a way, but God, I know there is a way. And so God dropped this, and he placed this song in my spirit, and the specific words or the verse that he dropped in my spirit is like, it says, God is fighting for us, pushing back the darkness, lighting up the kingdom that cannot be shaken. In the name of Jesus, the enemy's defeated, and we will shout it out, shout it out. And I don't know if y'all know that song, but it's called In Jesus' Name. I think that's the name of the song, In Jesus' Name. I'll put the song on here, but literally I just kept repeating it over and over. God is fighting for us, pushing back the darkness, lighting up the kingdom that cannot be shaken. That just like was really ministering to my spirit, because even in the midst of our circumstances, even when it looks like there's not a will or a way, God is always fighting on our behalf. Like, he's always fighting for us. He's always lighting up his kingdom. He's always taking care of our needs. He's always providing for us. He's always leading us. He's always making a path for us. And then at the same time, he's always making custom made paths, like not just any path, but a custom made path designed meticulously for us specifically, because he has so many children that all of us have our own specific designed path. Like, how amazing is that? Like, that is amazing. And so he also gave me some scriptures. Lord Jesus, this is a long word. I haven't did a word this long in forever. Okay. So, y'all, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got 5 scriptures. That's not that much. So, okay. So, the scripture that God gave me is Isaiah 60, 1 through 3. And it says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over the peoples. But the Lord rises upon you, and his glory appears over you. Nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn." So God is saying, like, shine your light. Shine the light that I have placed in you. Shine Show the people the gifts that I have given you, the spiritual gifts that I have placed, and the talents that I have placed inside of you. Stop being afraid to, and stop diminishing the talents and the gifts and the great things that I have placed in you. Stop trying to hide it. Stop trying to downplay it, because those gifts are gifts of me. Those are to serve my kingdom. Those are to help other people find me and to seek me, to seek my character, to seek my truth, to seek my love. Those are how people those are how the gifts and the talents that I have placed in you is how other people will find me. So I need you to be serious about it. I need you to stop trying to diminish your light. Stop trying to downplay your light. Stop trying to downplay your purpose and your talents and your abilities, because those are very important and it serves purpose. And God also said in the scripture, see, darkness covers the earth and thick darkness is over the people. So don't be worried about what other people won't receive or how people will receive it. There's people out here conforming to the darkness, conforming to sinful nature, conforming to fleshly desires, conforming to demonic spirits, conforming to demonic. Y'all know, just as there's Holy Spirits, there's demonic spirits out here. So y'all got to be very mindful of when people come to you talking about the Spirit led them, this and that. Every spirit is not of God. So test the spirit always and forevermore. Because these people are here serving other people. And everybody ain't serving the same God. So you got to be really mindful of that. Also, God gave me Isaiah 60:19-22, which says, the sun will no more be your light by day, nor will the brightness of the moon shine on you. For the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your God will be your glory. Your sun will never set again, and your moon will wane no more. The Lord will be your everlasting light, and your days of sorrow will end. Then all your people will be righteous, and they will possess the land forever. They are the shoot I have planted, the work of my hands, for the display of my splendor. The least of you will become 1,000, the smallest a mighty nation. I am the Lord. In its time, I will do this swiftly. So God is saying, you don't have to question what God is doing for your life right now. You don't have to worry about where God is taking you. You don't have to worry about how you will be provided for, whether that's financially, whether that's physically. You don't have to worry about how God is going to provide. He says it in his word. Literally, he says, the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your days of sorrow will end. Then all of your people will be righteous, and they will possess the land forever. God also wanted me to mention, and this just dropped in my spirit, Psalms 27, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I fear? Whom shall I be afraid? The Lord is our light and our salvation. That makes me think about the song Everlasting God. Who sings it? William Murphy. I love this song. So Everlasting God by William Murphy. If y'all haven't listened to this song, please go listen to that and let it minister to your spirit. Lord is our light and our salvation. Whom shall we fear? Whom shall we be afraid? He is our light. He is the light that's shining in the midst of this dark world. These people are filled with demonic spirits and walking in the will of the devil, and it's just like, he is our light. He's telling us that he won't leave us. He's gonna guide us through the paths. He's gonna guide us out the darkness. Okay, he won't just leave you, and even if you stray off, he's still gonna come back and get you. Okay, so next we have Psalms 34:17-22. The righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them. He delivers them from all their troubles. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. He protects all of his bones. Not one of them will be broken. Evil will slay the wicked. The foes of the righteous will be condemned. Can't nobody or no weapon formed against you prosper in the name of Jesus. That's what God is telling you. Like, don't worry about people who try to persecute you. Don't worry about who talking behind your back. Don't worry about people who treating you wrong. Don't worry about people who have said mean things to you, because God will forevermore take care of them. They can't just come up against God's chosen, God's children and not suffer consequences. Best believe God's gonna take care of it for you. The Lord will rescue his servants. No one who takes refuge in him will be condemned. So if you've been asking God, like, God, I need you to make a way. God, I need you to perform a miraculous miracle. God, I need you to come through. Like, God, I need you to see me to the end of this. God, I need you to make a way out of no way. God is saying that I'm going to be that. I'm going to do what I've told you that I was going to do. I'm going to uphold my promise to you. I'm going to provide for you in a way that you never imagined. I'm going to provide for you in a way that exceeds your expectations in this season. I'm going to provide for you in a way that you won't even expect. I'm going to provide for you in a way that it's going to be more than enough. I'm going to give you more than enough in this season. I'm going to give you enough to sustain those even around you. I'm going to give you enough to even give to those and bless those who persecuted you, right? Like, God is going to do far more than our minds can even perceive or even understand in this season. And God is needing us to know that even if it doesn't make sense, even if we don't see a way, even if we don't see a will, even if we can't see with our physical eyes, even if God doesn't answer the questions that we have, he's going to still keep his promise. He's going to still be a man of his word. He's still going to provide for us. He's still going to make a way out of no way. He's a way maker. He is our firm foundation. In him we put our trust. In God's word we put our trust. In God's character. His character is evidence, physical evidence, spiritual evidence that he is who he says he is. His word tells us that he is who he is. You can go back to Genesis. He created this earth. Whatever moves, he commands. He commands the clouds to pour down rain. He commands thunder and lightning. He orchestrates everything that happens. He even gives the devil permission. So if the devil has to come to him for permission, then you know that our God is the creator and the God of all gods. Okay? So remember that. You got to remember God's character. And even this is for myself. I'm going to rewatch this video for myself because sometimes we just need that encouragement to keep going, to keep believing, to keep having faith, to keep trusting. So we got 2 more verses, y'all, and we done. So 2 Timothy 4 verses 2 through 5, preach the word. And this is for specifically those of y'all who God leads to speak to other people and minister to other people. This is specifically for y'all. And even if you don't have a platform, this is still for those who are called to speak to people, to showcase your spiritual gifts to other people so that they can receive the revelations that God has given them, the confirmations, whatever it is. If you're prophetic, whatever your spiritual gifts are, this is specifically for y'all. It says, preach the word, be prepared in season and in out of season, correct, rebuke, and encourage with great patience and careful instruction. For the time will come when people will not put up with sound doctrine. Instead, to suit their own desires, they will gather around them a great number of teachers to say what their itching ears want to hear. They will turn their ears away from the truth and turn aside to myths. But you, keep your head in all situations, endure hardship, do the work of an evangelist, discharge all the duties of your ministry. So if God has led you to start a ministry, if God has led you to speak prophetically to people, then this is like a reminder that, like, it's gonna be people out here who persecute you. It's gonna be people out here that say that you're a false prophet. It's gonna be people out here that says that the truth that God is revealing to you is not of him, and it more so is, but they don't have the mental capacity to receive God's truth and to receive what God is actually doing in this season. And even if it's not in the season, out of the season, because God could give you a revelation that's way before the season where he's going to make that thing a manifestation and make it physical evidence. And they're like, this isn't going to happen, da 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 da. But a true prophet, you're going to see physical evidence of that manifestation, whether it's today, tomorrow, weeks, months, it's going to happen. And when it does, you're going to know that that is a true prophet of God, a true prophet of Christ. And also be patient and don't let it get to you, because I know sometimes people can comment things and you just question, like, God, reveal yourself to them and reveal your character and your truth to them, because it's still a lot of things that I'm learning from myself when it comes to God's truth and a lot of things that I was taught in church, even from other Christians that are not of God. And I had to come to a realization that I have to be accountable for the time that I put in to get to know God's character, because ultimately that's going to reflect in my relationship with God. You have to be able to seek your own intimate relationship with God outside of everything else, so that you know for yourself who God is. Okay, and then the last scripture that we have is 2 Timothy 4 verses 6 through 8. And it says, "For I am already being poured out like a drink offering, and the time for my departure is near. I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award me on that day. And not only to me, but also to all who have longed for his appearing." This is a reminder that the time of your waiting is over. It's very, very near to being over. And it's so crazy because this just made me think of last night when I was reading my Bible in my bed. God led me to Psalm 150, which is the very last Psalms of Psalms. It's the very last chapter of Psalms. And literally as soon as I opened my Bible, God took me, or Holy Spirit led me to read Psalm 150, which is the very last Psalm. That's so wild. Like, that is so, y'all know how many Psalms it is. So Holy Spirit literally led, as soon as I opened my Bible, it took me to 150, Psalms 150, which is the very last Psalm. And so that's reminding me, because in this scripture, 2 Timothy 4, 6 through 8, it says, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day." So be ready, y'all. Be ready for new beginnings. Be ready for a new chapter. Be ready. Like, the time of your season or your past season is over. Like, you have made it. You have finished the race. And this is a very specific word. So if you've been seeing, confirmations, and God has been speaking to you about this is confirmation that the time that your season has ended. You have become a mighty warrior for God. I cannot talk today, y'all. Sorry. You have fought the fight. You've finished the race. You've endured. You've endured. And you've kept your faith. And not only did you keep your faith, but even through your doubts and your fears, you still remained obedient. You still followed God's instructions. You still remained. You remained steadfast. It won't be long. It won't be long till you see physical evidence of what God has over your life, what he's planned for you, the surprises that he has in store for you, the goodness, the love. When it comes to you and your spouse, the level of love that you're going to get from your spouse is just a love that you can't even replicate. It's a love that you can't replace. It's a love that you can't just create on your own. It's a love that it will be indescribable. And that just made me think, because God gave me a number not too long ago. I can't remember what number it was, but God gave me a number, and I searched it up, and it meant indescribable. But the love your spouse will have for you will be indescribable. It will be a love that you can't get from no one else. It will be a love that person that God's created for you, they're the only person that can fill that void. Like, it's a specific void that God fills, and it's a specific void that your spouse can fulfill. And these are the only two people that can fill these voids. The only two people. So I just want to leave y'all with that. I hope that's brought y'all a lot. I cannot talk. I hope that this video bring y'all a lot of clarity, insight, and revelation as to y'all own specific situations, whether it's a kingdom spouse, whether it's your living situation, whether it's just keeping faith and trusting in God for your own circumstances, whatever that may be. I pray that y'all just keep fighting, keep trusting, keep believing. Like, just stay the course. Allow God to order your steps. And yes, y'all, this has been a very long video. Oh my gosh, my earring fell out. I hope and pray that y'all are all doing well. I pray for y'all who are struggling to remain in y'all faith, to remain in the midst of y'all circumstances. I know it gets hard, and we're all human and we're not perfect, but continue to pray, continue to read your word, continue to speak to God and talk to God. Even when you are upset, remember to tell God how you feel. It's not about trying to be perfect, and it's not about trying to hide your feelings from God, because he already knows how you feel. So just be honest and vulnerable with him. And also don't sit in those emotions for a long time, because a lot of the times, you know, the devil also sometimes know when we're upset or when we're losing faith or we're losing hope, and he'll try to use that against you, so, and against God as well. So don't turn your face away from God. Stay steadfast and stay the course. Just keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. So I love y'all. Those who want to sow into the ministry, you can do so by clicking the link in the description box, and I have all of my information down there. Thank y'all for y'all who do sow into the ministry. It always, like, y'all always come through unexpectedly, so thank you so much, especially because y'all don't have to. So if Holy Spirit does lead y'all can also sow into the ministry. I do greatly appreciate it. And also, let's just keep all of each other in each other's prayers. I pray over the ministry every single morning. I pray over my husband every single morning. I pray over myself and my family every single morning. So y'all remember to pray. Remember to speak life into your situation. Speak life into your husband. Speak life into your circumstances. Speak life into your ministry. Speak life and life more abundantly, okay, for all of us, y'all. So thank y'all for watching. I love y'all, but God loves y'all absolutely more. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.